Tell me why I don't like Mondays. Tell me why I don't like Mondays. I don't like Mondays.
Thank you, Ms. Amos. Let's see if I can make your Monday a little better. Hello, everyone, and welcome. I've been asked this question so many times. Koopa, you ask, why do you play so many normal games in normal lobbies? An excellent question, and I'm going to answer it here. You see, dear viewer, right now, normal lobbies are BIS. It's not really a recent thing. It's been true for a while now. In this video, I'm going to show you why. It might seem odd, because if you tune into Twitch or you look at any other major content creator on this platform, you will see folks exclusively running high roller games, thirsting for that juicy BIS, and stomping lobbies. I've thought through it quite a bit, and now I kind of get it. After years of playing ranked League of Legends, I came to realize that I do not enjoy playing ranked League of Legends. And yet, even to this day, I still enjoy watching ranked League of Legends. And that's what I think is going on here in Dark and Darker today. High Roller is simply more exciting to watch because every player kill is a potential jackpot, a come-up of epic proportions, great players with great mechanics wearing and winning legendary loots. We root for our favorite protagonists to pull off outplays and win the day. It's exciting, and it makes for good entertainment. The largest difference between HR lobbies and normal lobbies in this game is gear. You're welcome. Please like and subscribe. Okay, bear with me a second. We're going to talk about why gear actually makes this game less fun to play. You might have just heard a ranger putting down a trap on the other side of that door. We're going to explore that in a second, but let's follow through with my premise for a minute. Gear is an important factor in the outcome of all PvP fights in Dark and Darker, but it's not nearly as important as player skill. A better player with worse gear can outplay and overcome a negative gear differential and still win fights. But assuming all other things are equal, the player with the best gear is going to come out on top. Now, to the fight. We heard a ranger on the other side of this door. I'm going to pop a protection pot. We're going to go check it out. Where's he at? Oh, upstairs, and fighting? All right. Well, if you're not the first one to the party, at least you can be the last. What's up, Ranger? Yeah, I think that fighter did all my work for me. Quick spoiler, I'm not going to die to this PvE, although it looks like it. Firstly, to be competitive in the context of high roller games, you need gear. Naked runs are possible, but not really consistent if you are getting into any meaningful amounts of PvP. So unless you want to rat full time, we must accept that we need gear. Preferably good gear, if you can get it. And getting that gear, well, it's part of the rub for me. I don't like shopping for gear. I don't like using the marketplace. Don't get me wrong, it is 10 times better than the old school text-based auction, be the first to open a trade, spam it till you get it thingy that we used to have, but it's still not fun. I resent shopping on it. I don't really care for selling on it. It's not something I want to do. It's something I feel like I must do if I want to have fair fights in high roller games. Now, I'm sure you guys know the lore, and if you don't, here's a link to his YouTube channel in the description below. He makes great content for Dark and Darker, and part of his success and differentiation is his willingness to provide coverage of the gear game. That's what he does when he's not in the dungeon to increase his chances of success in the dungeon. Now, his average video, let's say it's 15 minutes worth of runtime, anywhere from 20 to 30% of that total runtime is often nothing more than him interacting with the marketplace system. Now, he's providing a ton of educational value here, particularly for new players. Not only does he talk about price points, but he's experimenting with the assembly and the evaluation of various stats and builds, and then testing how they perform in the dungeon. But dear viewer, I don't want to spend my limited playtime doing this because it's not as fun as playing the primary game. I'd rather run some normals and scoop up the occasional decent pieces of loot until I've assembled a kit, or two, or three, and then just take those kits into some high roller games and either snowball off them or lose them. Just to be clear, this is not the smartest way to play this game. It's just a more fun way to play this game. If Dark and Darker had a game mode, a self-found only gear mode, I would play that 100% of the time and never look back. I'd never have to use the marketplace system again. So, we've essentially covered the fact that I don't like eating my vegetables. I don't like having to do work outside the game to be able to enjoy a particular game mode. Let's talk about how gear is just way too good. The scaling on stats right now in Dark and Darker on gear, it's ridiculously poor for the health of the game, like from a systems perspective. And by poor, I mean broken. And by broken, I mean laughably overpowered. All you have to do is compare the effective stat budget of a given character in well-appointed blue gear against the stat budget of another given character in epics or legendaries. I put it to you, these two characters are not even playing the same game. The developers have not been able to install a stat system which scales or really works. They've tried to staunch the bleeding caused by these inherent inequalities in the form of a gear-based matchmaking system that has had very little positive effect. Little effect beyond the obvious of diluting the player base across game modes. We have another ranger here, seems very popular right now. He is going to try to kite me out. I'm going to pop sprint. I'm going to stab him until he was dead. GG. Now, going back to how gear is insanely overpowered. The gear-based matchmaking system has had very little effect in terms of rendering a fair outcome or improving how fun it is to play High Roller. That's how seriously broken gear scaling is right now. This dev team has proven that their only North Star in the overall game design is whatever today's average playing population is and the concentration of those players in their queues. That they're willing to dilute the player concentration across multiple queues in an attempt to rectify how broken gear is. Well, I mean, it says a lot. I don't enjoy the geared game. And that feels really stupid to say about a gear game. I like going into lobbies knowing that every player in that lobby is pretty close to the same starting point. It feels fair. It feels like a more pure experience. But ultimately, I play normals to effectively opt out of the poorly balanced stat madness, which is the current gear scale in the game. Not just now, but it has been many times over the past year of development. So in Iron Mace's defense, they have a build that's available right now on the private test server, which is taking a step back from this. A step in the right direction, in this turtle's opinion. They have scaled down plus damage gear and plus all stats, I mean, significantly. I've played a bunch of matches on it. There's nobody really to test with, but I have not found any gear which contain stats that it, quote, shouldn't have at this point. And I don't know if this is signaling a larger transition or a big change for the coming wipe. I certainly hope it is. I hope that they follow through with exactly this and actually take it a few notches lower. Now lean in a bit because I need to whisper. I'm afraid the devs are still out there. They're lurking in the tall grasses. They're waiting. They're watching. I fear that they're only one bad trip or one sugary snack away from dropping the +3 all meta back on us again. Oh god, we'll just have to see. What is that over there? I thought I saw a potion in the dark. I did. Hello, Mr. Barbarian. Your build has no chance against my build. I'm not even in my final form. Alright, good game. Okay, another reason I like normals over High Roller. There are no RMTers, and there's much fewer cheaters. By and large, there's little reason to cheat in normals. Hell is empty, and all the devils are in High Roller. The gold is better in High Roller, the loot is better in High Roller, sure. I do run into the occasional cheatin' ranger here in normals, running ESP and aimbots. But if I lose to him, I just shrug it off. I say a little prayer for these poor, fragile betas, and I go on with my day. After all, I didn't lose much. I don't want to go into High Roller and lose a hard-earned kit. not to a statistically significant likelihood of some scumbag not only leveraging his gear advantage, but also cheating. No thanks. Hard pass. Honestly, my blood pressure can't handle it. Another reason I'm not at all interested in the leaderboards, nor the adventure point system. Not that I don't have respect for Repose or anyone else who's consistently topped a seasonal leaderboard. I just don't view those systems as having any real value, nor any real prestige. Firstly, at its core, the system is essentially a long, serious grind for cosmetics. And for longtime viewers, you'll know I don't really care that much about cosmetics. Now, both Season 1 and Season 2, they ultimately devolved into who can cleanly clear PvE whilst avoiding taking risks in the form of not taking PvP fights. Yes, some of the super sweats out there have hit demigod while taking all comers, but those guys are in the minority. I don't care a lot about the cosmetics, as I've said. I don't enjoy feeling like I have to grind for something passing, prestige. And I don't think the leaderboards are really, by themselves indicative of player skill. I ground out a few of my characters to Wayfinder this season to get a head start on next season. But honestly, I really didn't enjoy any of it. The last few days of this season, all I saw was a bunch of, crouch spamming and spam surrendering while folks went around in packs to loot together. It's just not for me, and I'm happy not to participate in it. Another great thing about normals, there are always people to play with. At the time of this recording, there are 3,745 players online. My normal solo Goblin Caves lobby filled in about 20 seconds. This is being recorded at 11 p.m. Eastern Daylight Savings Time on a Sunday evening 3 days before wipe. But this is almost always universally true. When you can't get a full lobby in High Roller, you can almost certainly get one almost instantly in a normal. Iron Mace, I again challenge you guys to release the player demographics data. The last time you released this kind of information, about half the player base expressed a preference for normals over High Roller, and I'd love to see, understand, and discuss how that changed over the last season. The last thing I'll say on this subject is the pace of play. The speed, our ability to clear modules and move across the overall map. It just feels better tuned on normal difficulty. The PvE serves its function, and that function is to retard momentum. It simply feels better in the limited gear selection available in normals as compared to the gear levels you can reach in High Roller and effectively, move through modules while ignoring PvE effectively. But what does High Roller have that normal matches do not? High Roller games have better gear. For some classes, that gear is essential gear because some of those classes don't really feel good or come online until they hit certain breakpoints based on the gear they're wearing. But if those are the only reasons you're giving me to go into High Roller is the gear, and that gear is only usable in High Roller, a playstyle that I clearly don't prefer, well, I'd just rather play normals. And that feels like a weird and silly thing to say in a gear game. But here we are. That's all I've got to say on the subject today, folks. Please enjoy the rest of this gameplay. I am playing Slayer Fighter in normal Goblin Caves, and I will tell you that this build feels uber broken. I'm running Sword Mastery. I am running a short sword, and I am running a dagger. And I'm doing that because I plan to primarily attack with the fast attack dagger style, whichever one I'm using. And I'm keeping the short sword in my offhand to maintain my swordsmanship perk. This effectively, with the skin that I'm wearing, gives me +8 weapon damage, and I am building for dex, although I think you can build for vigor and it would be just as effective, because as soon as you get on someone, you are going to output tremendous damage. For example, with this rondelle that I'm scooping right here, I'm going to be hitting a target dummy for around 55, and I'm going to be attacking 3 times every 2 seconds. You can just do the math real quick, and realize that pretty much nobody stands up to that in a normal lobby. A barbarian's going to take 4 or 5 hits, particularly depending on what shouts he has up, but this is kind of game-breaking damage, and I think a solid reason why plus damage has to be examined as one of the core contributors to the stat scaling issue that we've got in the game. But yeah, I don't enjoy playing the high-end loot in a loot-based game. Feels like a silly thing to say. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed all of this. If you did, please give the video a like and consider maybe subscribing. Until next time, good fortune to you in the battles to come. And until then, Koopa out.